Hello students, today I am going to cover uh, the topic on knowledge representation in artificial intelligence. So first of all, we should know about the objective of artificial intelligence. So the objective of artificial intelligence to build or design an expert system, and that expert system actually require huge amount of knowledge. But the question is that how to represent this knowledge. So our next topic here, that is knowledge representation. So knowledge representation in artificial intelligence describe the representation of knowledge. That means knowledge representation is not just storing the data in any database, but also allow the machine to learn from the knowledge and behave intelligently like any human being does. And the second important point is that the knowledge representation and reasoning. Here, reasoning means to conclude from the given knowledge or to deduce from the given knowledge. So, knowledge representation and reasoning basically representation of the information to understand and utilize the knowledge to solve the complex problems like communicating with human beings in natural language. So we should know about how many types of knowledge are there. So here we do have 5 types of knowledge. The first type is declarative knowledge, structural knowledge, procedural knowledge, meta knowledge, and heuristic knowledge. The first one, which is declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge is actually know about something that includes some concept, some fact, some object, and it can be expressed in declarative sentences. For example, car has 4 tires, or Paris is the capital of France. So these are actually, we know something that exists. The second type of knowledge is structural knowledge. Structural knowledge is basically for the problem solving. Problem solving that describes the relationship between various components, subcomponents, and objects, and how these things are related. For example, if I said animal, animal is a mammal. Mammal is a cat. Cat can be black or white. So the structure knowledge is all about the relationship between the components, the subcomponents, or the objects. The third knowledge is procedural knowledge, and it also called the imperative knowledge. Imperative knowledge, that is the knowledge knowing how to do something. That includes rules, strategies, agendas, procedures. So basically, this procedural knowledge depends on the task on which it can be applied. So procedural knowledge is totally task oriented. On the basis of the task, we actually created the rules, we actually created the strategies, we actually created the procedures. The fourth type of knowledge is meta knowledge. That is knowledge about the other types of knowledge. So it is called meta knowledge. And the last one, that is fifth one, which is heuristic knowledge, which actually means that the knowledge of some experts, experts in a particular field or in a particular object or area. Heuristic knowledge is basically rule of thumb that based on the previous experiences, awareness of approaches, and maybe it could be good or bad, but not guaranteed always. So these are the 5 types of knowledges which we have. Now come to the next, that is what exactly the process cycle of knowledge representation in artificial intelligence. So we have several components which actually involves in this process cycle of KR in AI. The first component which we have seen in this diagram, which is called perception component. Perception component basically perceives or retrieves data or information from the environment. It also defines how to respond when any sense has been detected. So this is perception component. The second component, which is learning component. This learning component learns from the data which is captured by this perception component. So learning component focuses on the process of self-improvement. And obviously, in order to learn new things, the system requires knowledge acquisition. This knowledge acquisition is basically the process of gathering knowledge from various sources. So the aim of knowledge acquisition is to develop the methods and tools that make, capture and validate the knowledge of an expert. The third component, which is knowledge representation, and knowledge representation, as we have already discussed in the first slide, that knowledge representation is all about the understanding of intelligence and build the machines who may have human-like intelligence. The knowledge representation and reasoning are actually correlated. Here, reasoning is the process to reach to some conclusion after having all the knowledges. So, reasoning basically to have some computational mechanism that allows knowledge to be manipulated in a logical way. So, this is basically the knowledge representation and reasoning. The last components are basically planning and execution. And these components basically depends on the analysis of knowledge representation and reasoning. So the planning component provides the initial state, find its preconditions, effects, and then have the sequence of actions to achieve the state in which a particular goal holds. And execution is when the planning gets finished, the final stage is to execute the entire process. So this is all about the process cycle of knowledge representation in AI. So I am ending over here. In the next lecture, we will continue with knowledge representation, its entities, the expert systems, and the techniques of knowledge representation in artificial intelligence. So, bye for now, students. Keep listening and learning.